everyone. Today I just have a update video. You know, the jumper T-lite that came out a number of weeks ago now. I think it's been close to a month or 6 weeks. And so I thought I would come back with a little bit of information about that. And then we have a few other things here on the desk that I think people have been asking me about with some relative frequency. So I'll try to cover those, and I'll try to be as brief as I can. Essentially, the T-lite, when it comes to flying typical analog quads, this is my everyday flyer. I have seen pictures online where it does look like the soft touch is wearing off for some people. That doesn't impact me, but it's something to be aware of if you put this in a bag and it goes in and out. That I think soft touch in general across most radios tends to break down over time, and so it tends to look a little worn and tattered. There is no real update as far as an external module, which you see on mine. I don't have it on here, and being able to run, say, a crossfire module or some other module that you might want to run, like Express LRS, and then run it at the higher power. You know, it runs off of one 18650 battery, so they didn't put a voltage regulator in there to power the external module to meet its power requirements. So there is limitations to this, and one of them is running an external module on a higher power level. That's been well covered by others. That's why I never made a video about it. Plus, the modules I have, it didn't seem like people were too interested in, because when I fly Crossfire, I use my Tango 2. So I don't even have a Crossfire module to test it against. Something else that I've noticed that I did was, so this distance between the switches here with your fingers, get my face out of the way, that isn't huge. And especially I noticed it on this side. I mentioned it in a video that one particular flight I accidentally disarmed. So in my case, I use the disarm switch up because I want to be able to disarm real quickly. So I just flick my finger kind of out and then I disarm. Previously, I kind of came, let me move the antenna a little bit. I came from a time when we used to have air mode actually on a switch. It didn't have a setting in the configuration to where air mode was just on all the time. And so I had a habit of setting up 3 different modes, typically on this switch. This is my right-hand side. So all the way down would be angle mode, and then in the middle would be air mode, and then up would usually be horizon and air mode. So if you're not familiar with horizon mode, you know, it does self-stabilization, but you need the air mode so that you can go ahead and make a relatively smooth flip or a roll in horizon mode. So we don't really need to do that anymore, even though I still have a habit of setting quads up the same way. But I've been trying to just leave air mode on the configuration tab just on. But I did notice, because I had this switch in the middle for my typical old school air mode, that the distance with my finger here when the quad is armed, this is armed, that it just wasn't very big, and I did have that one disarm on accident. So what I've done to just rectify that situation is just move this switch up to where that's in acro, and then all the way down as an angle mode. I really wasn't using horizon ever. I haven't used it in years. I haven't even put it on quads. It was just kind of a habit to always have air mode kind of in that middle of that 3-position switch. And mainly what I use angle mode for was if I need to do some sort of quick recovery or something. Say you've lost video, you can hit angle mode and then maybe slowly bring the throttle down. Otherwise, you're just disarming. You may have different techniques in that situation, but that was my thinking for it. I don't have any troubles with the functionality of the radio. I do wish it was a touch taller, like 5 millimeters, I think even. It does sit in my hand a little high. You know, I'm a pincher. So when I hold the radio in my hand, it doesn't necessarily, it's not uncomfortable, but I do feel like I have to get it settled in the right spot so I can fly like I want to fly. You can see here, it kind of, this kind of sits in the palm of my hand down here when I'm pinching. And that's not a problem, but I have felt that I've noticed my hands have moved a little bit when I am flying, and I have to make an adjustment in flight, which can be tricky sometimes. But otherwise, I'm real happy with this radio. I like the size of it. I haven't had any functionality problems. I've actually been binding it up to some older stuff and been flying it. You know, there haven't been a lot of new products on the come out to the market. I've got a few things I'm still working on, and they'll be coming to the channel in the coming weeks. But I've went back and I've bound some things up that are running DSMX. I haven't flown DSMX in years. So I've used Radiomaster, the R81 receivers on it, and they seem to work well, although I haven't really tested them at range. Of course, D8 mode on whoops. FR Sky XSRs. Pretty much everything that I use that's not Crossfire, I've been using it with this radio. So I still think it's a good value. If you're interested in it or you have any questions about this, please let me know down in the video description or down in the comment section. I will have a link. I think MakerFire has the lowest price on this. I think they're like $5 less. And if you want to see my original review video of this, I'll put a link, or I'll put a card to it up in the top right-hand corner of the video. So it's still a radio I use. I've seen the new radios coming out yet, but there seems to be some sort of delay. I think it's the removable screen on that radio that's real long. I can't remember if it's the, is that the Radiomaster? Anywho, so there's been a delay with that radio. I'm still using this. Matter of fact, I keep it real close. The Tango 2 isn't retired, like I said, using it for Crossfire purposes. When I fly DJI, I use the DJI Radio. Actually, for its size, for someone who likes a smaller radio, I am surprised that I haven't thrown this thing away, because it is big, it is bulky, it is much, much heavier, but it does sit well in the hands, and I don't really have too many complaints about this radio other than its size. I don't think too many people have this anymore, because I think most people who are in the hobby that are flying a Caddx Vista or a DJI based quad that's not the new FPV quad that came out, I think most people are probably just using their standard whatever radio they had. But of course, if you're getting into the hobby, it might be something to consider. It doesn't look like any other radios, but it does function very, very similarly, and it's really easy to bind up. So, well, anyways, I don't think I've talked about that too much, that when I do fly DJI, I am using this radio. Of course, speaking of radios, if you're looking to get into the hobby, or if you're wanting more standard size radio, or if you want to do Crossfire or Express LRS or some of these more long range exotic sort of protocols, I still recommend the TX16S. Very solid radio. This is what I have my Express LRS in, and it's just, I think most people would agree, it's got a multi-module inside, so as far as most protocols go, even for some of the older toy stuff that's running the Bang protocols, this has that multi-module built into it, so it's a really good radio to have. It's, it's big and it's bulky, so I don't use it that much. Right now, I'm only using this one when I'm doing Express LRS, because Express LRS has got that module that you have to have in the back, so it doesn't fit. There will be a nano module coming out. I thought it might be out by now, but we haven't seen it yet. A couple of other things. Speaking of when I fly DJI, I'm still drawn to the GepRC Phantom HD. For a micro with HD, it flies really nice, and it still gives me some of that performance. Whenever you have the extra weight of the DJI or Caddx Vista system in here, you can feel it. You definitely, if you've flown like a prototypical analog micro, you can definitely feel the weight. Grams matter. But this is one I found myself drawn to, and I'm curious, do any of you guys have one, and what's it been like? Because I've noticed the frame is a little bit thicker. I actually ordered another frame. I have it right over here. It just came in. So I'm planning to build it out, but not with DJI this time. And so I'm wondering if anyone else has broke this frame. Again, if you're interested in this, I'll put a link down in the video description if you want to see the full review video. This has been out a while. I think this one's been out 4 or 5 months now, but this is one I tend to keep handy as well, and you might see it, actually, it usually is about right there on the shelf behind me. This is pretty recent. AvantQuads, the Avio. When I'm flying analog, I still pick this thing up if I've got an extra battery or two that's 550 or more. It's a good quad. I think the one thing I do want to explore when there's like some open time, I hate to ruin the tune on this though. It's so well tuned and flies so nicely. But I think these motors could run some higher pitch props. And some of you said that in the review video as well. So I want to explore that. I am still waiting on the DJI or Caddx Vista based version of this. I told them to fulfill all their orders for everyone else before they sent me the one that I had ordered. I just didn't feel right about that. I've already got one. Don't be selfish, As much as I want that other one, I can wait. I'll have my patient pants on. Speaking of flying DJI, I still am flying the Synlog when I go out sometimes too. Again, you know, if I have a 500 milliamp or higher battery that's, well, somewhere between 500 and 700 milliamp. So 550s, 530s, 650s, I'll go out and fly this. I like this because it's not as aggressive in many ways. So it gives me more of a relaxed flight feeling. And this just came out, and I still find myself, again, when I have to grab my DJI Radio and my DJI goggles to fly something, I still find myself picking one of these up to take out with me, because I like to just take older things out as well. But the Emax BabyHawk, and I think something that might be somewhat remarkable about this is they didn't make an analog version, and many of you are unhappy about it. And I feel your pain. Keep making Emax hear you. Maybe you'll get that one day, or we'll get that one day. I understand what they're doing, because they want to make sure they can fulfill orders for this, rather than having two different, you know, products of the same, essentially competing against each other. So but I still fly that. I still enjoy that. And I mentioned analog here a little bit. So one of the questions I get a lot is about whoops. You know, I fly a lot in the house. I've got a couple whoops that I brought out, just kind of the ones I found on top of the pile. On top of the pile, it's right back over here. Oh, you can't really see it. Right behind this folder is kind of a pile of whoops. There's probably 12 or so of them back there. So the ones that are on top are the ones getting flown the most. So this is essentially a Mobula 6 with a different canopy on it. It's got the AE65 or the Crux 3 canopy on it. And then this one's got the BT20 on it. I've got some tiny whoop batteries. I do not fly BT20 from the Beta FPV batteries. Those batteries just don't perform very well, and it always has frustrated me. So this is a little bit of a custom whoop too. I've been tinkering with some Emu Flight software on there. Of course, you might look at this and not remember it, but this is the Moblite 7. This has got the Angry Dawn canopy on it there, so it's got some pretty extreme angle. Well, I get this out when I want to just go fast. I'm not looking to do any sort of tricks. I'm not looking to get into any corners or fly under any chairs or anything. This one is about going fast, and you know, I can do that well with lots of crashes. I can do that for about 4 minutes. I think generally, you know, of course, if you want to see the review video on this stuff, they're all here on the channel. And this is essentially, again, another Mobula 6. I should have checked the motor kV. This one is 25,000 kV. I'm pretty certain. This one's 25,000 kV as well. So essentially, I've got two Mobula 6s that are just, I replaced the canopies on them. With that Crux 6 or AE65 canopy. They're really the same. One's got PH20 on it, the other one's got BT20. You might be asking about GNB27. Yes, I still have the NanoHawk out here and in reach, and I have been flying it, but I'm going to be making some modifications, something that others have already done, which is to basically get rid of the ducting and the plastic on the frame. I am a little bit worried about those arms. I think it was Dan online. He was telling me he's been through 4 of these frames. So if you take the prop guards off and you go outside and have fun, you may find a arm broken. But I think Mr. Shutterbug, yes, Mr. Shutterbug definitely did do a video about taking the NanoHawk and making it unprop guarded. Okay, 2 more things, and then I'll shut up and go away. The GnarlyFPV SubAtomic, that one is one when I'm flying 2S, because I've got some shark bite whoops that I've been working on some testing for firmware and things like that. When I've got an extra 2S battery and I've got some sun and some low wind, go outside and I stretch my legs with this little guy as well. It's just good fun. You know, the video on this got like, well, so far I think it's like 12 or 13,000 views on it. It's been very, very popular. It's so tiny and so much fun. Speaking of tiny and fun, this is a frame by R3D Shifters, R3D Shifters. I think this is the ION, might be the 85 frame. These are printed frames. They're kind of a specialized filament that they used. And, you know, I've had a number of these on the channel. You actually see a different sort of Red Shifters frame coming on the channel as well. These are always good fun. And when it comes to 1S, this is the one I'm drawn to most of the time when I want speed. The Mosquito is good fun. I just had that on the channel. but I found when I want speed and I want a little bit more punch, I go to this guy because it's running bigger motors, it's got bigger props, it has those bigger advantages. Okay, I don't think this video was nearly as brief as I thought it would be when I sat down. If you have any questions about any of those things that I went over, you know, the review video will probably cover many of them. So if you didn't happen to see that, but if you have questions that the review video or you didn't get an answer to, or you just didn't see the video, please let me know down in the comment section down below. And something else that I'm curious about is I've found a number of people that have leave a comment on one of the videos. They're always surprised when I respond. Not a lot of people. Maybe say there's 100 comments on a video. There might be 5. They're like, thanks for the reply. You know, usually when I put in a comment, it's crickets. Hopefully that's not normal in this FPV section, but so if you have a question, leave it down in the comment section and I'll get back to you. I'm not always fast, but I try to check a couple of times a day. I appreciate your time and thanks for watching.